Okay, so we have started recording. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DPA Voice Chat. And today we are going to be discussing a little bit about the recent coup that have occurred in Gabon, and compare that to coups that have been in the Sahel region, maybe put some historical examples for context. And then we'll be moving on to predicting the next countries in Africa that are likely to be subjected to or experiencing coups, and of course why. This is going to be a fairly loose interpretation to a synopsis, so if we were to be going any deeper, it will take quite a lot of time, but we may do that on a later stage. Now, disclaimer being done, let's just take a round of introductions. I am Coping. I am the sponsor and the host of this recording, and yeah, I'm from Norway. You might have seen me on the open mic, and I have no formal education or profession that gives me any particular insight when it comes to the African affairs or anything, but I do have relations in Ghana, which is a West African country, so I do have some, shall we say, biased incentives for being interested, but that's really all I have to offer. So that's why I'm very satisfied to be able to get the panelists on here. And so I won't really be the one providing any unique perspective of any kind. That's what my fellow panelists are going to do. And with that, I'm going to pass over the introduction because on my screen, Shadowy is right below me. So I'm going to have you please introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm from France, and I'm going here to represent the European point of view, basically. And I have very few ties with Africa, except that I read and listen to a lot of news about it, and I speak a lot of people. Some of them are here today about the situation there.
Right. Thank you, Shadowy. And Alpha, please give a short introduction of yourself.
Hi, my name is Alpha Diallo. I'm from West Africa, but currently I live in New York. I am a former alumni of UN Department Global Communications, NGO Youth Representative Advisor. So, yeah.
Very good. Thank you, Alpha. Chairman Jesse Ngai, please introduce yourself.
Okay, I am Chairman Jesse Ngaji. I'm from Nigeria, Benue State to be precise, and I'm from West Africa. Nice meeting you guys all. You are welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Monieni.
All right. Again, some of you may have catch me previously on the previous open mics and other session, where my name is Momini, FCS Momikiri, and I grew up basically, born in Liberia, but grew up in our West African regions, and Guinea was basically my second home till I decided to leave Guinea and go other places. Spent a few times in the States, and currently moving around Africa again, work and other things. Yeah, and again, although I have any professional training in this geopolitics, anything, no, my background is more science and mathematics. They have nothing to do with politics. So.
Thank you. And with that, I hope the audience have been made aware that we are not here to lecture you or be speaking from a position of authority. Basically, just a bunch of dudes getting together, having an interest in, geopolitics and world affairs and what's going on. And so we gather together to have these conversations. We're learning in the process, and we're doing it in public with you, so you also have an opportunity to do so. So please, do not hesitate to leave a comment if you have any insights you want to put or you think there was something we overlooked. That being said, I will now pass over I will start the first segment and pass over the first question over to Alpha. And the first question, this first segment basically pertains to this coup that had been in Gabon. With I suspect it is the long lost cousin of Ali G, Ali Bongo, who got the post, and I wondered, Alpha, if you could tell me, you being from Guinea, which was one of the countries in the Sahel region that experienced a coup in, was it 2017, I think. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I wondered if you could explain the similarities and differences to the coup in Gabon compared to the one in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso and Guinea. And for that matter, if you think Guinea is distinct from the other coups in the Sahel region. So yeah, please take your time.
Thank you so much. So just to start, like Guinea coup happened in 2021, if I'm fully accurate. So the reason why I think that it's both is like it's similar to Guinea and Gabon is very, very similar to compared to Mali and Burkina Faso and the other ones, because you have to understand that like before the coup happened, Alpha Conde had his second term done, so he wanted to go for his third term. So he get couped right after when his third term, when they said that he won the election. So as you remember, in Gabon, that same thing happened. Ali Bongo was already finished his second term, and then he was going for his third term. The day that they announced he's the winner, same thing happened with the coup. So, for Guinea, a little bit in the background is that Alpha Conde, the problem with Alpha Conde was he was already make the population do not back him anymore, because he was like most of the time when the young kids protest like against him about like things that he try to change the constitutions, or he like if the problem with the fuel problems, like when the price go up, he always used force to you know like to end the protest. So that was causing him to not have any more people like backing him. Only people that are backing him is like few people that was backing him that are from the Maninke area, because they want him to keep being up here, because usually in Guinea elections, they have a guy named Selu Dalen, he's Fulani, and Alpha Conde, them two, they've been going on this for a while. They've been going on each other, trying to like, you know, take over each other for long, like for almost since 1993, right before like after Sekou Touré. So well now, the fact that he changed the constitution and the people didn't like him on top of that, and he had not like with France anyway. He really had no connection with the France. Before he was elected, like in the first term, he had really backing from France. But Ali Bongo here too, as you see, he didn't have that much like connection with France as much, and also the people didn't back him. So that's the thing that I see that that's similar with both of them. And the people, when the coup happened, I don't see no people like in Guinea raising like a Russian flag, like, okay, yeah, we want to kick France out. You don't see that in Guinea. Same thing in same thing in Gabon, I see. There was no raising no flags, like all that stuff, based on what I see. So it's like the coup is there because of people tired of this type of government. And people trying to, you know, like go for like more long term. Like for example, for Guinea, we used to have like leaders that like sit down for like 20 years, 30 years. Like for Lassana Conte, like I think he was 20 something years as the president, and then same thing for Sekou Touré. And then now in Gabon, you had like Omar Bongo. He was the president of the former president just now, that died like after he was for 40 something years. So that's the similarity. So people already tired of knowing that having a leadership that stayed there for too long and grab power. So that's the other thing that I see they're similar to both of them, and that's why it's a little bit different from Burkina Faso and the other one. I know Burkina Faso, they have a little bit similar, but not as much as Guinea, because Guinea also, they don't have issue with like security about like terrorism, all that stuff. Same thing I believe in Gabon. So, yeah.
So you would basically put Guinea and Gabon, like if you were having to choose, you would put Guinea and Gabon more in the same category than you would put Guinea with Burkina Faso and Mali?
Alpha, you're mute.
Yeah, you're muted, Alpha.
I may
Alpha.
have to join again. I don't know why. I can't hear you that much clear. Oh, man.
Oh,
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, he'll be back. In that case, I think I'll just ask, did anyone want to respond or add to what Alpha had to say?
Oh, yes.
Okay, shall we? All right.
I have a different point of view about the situation in Gabon. I don't know anything about the other coup, but about the Gabon one, I read a lot of things about it. And notably about new leader in Gabon. You have to understand that he was very, very near of the old president, the one who died in 2009. He died in Barcelona in an hospital, okay? And when he died, in the room where he was, there was this guy, the actual new leader of the junta. He was there when the old president died in his room. So he was very close of the old president. It's absolutely not a new guy. It's someone who is part of the old guard. You have to understand that. And when he come back to his country, he has been demoted of his personality by the son. Okay? And step by step, he regained his power. And at a point, he was so powerful that basically he take everything. And that's what happened. So it's not a coup about France. It's not a coup about the people. It's just the old guard taking power back to the son who they think done something they don't like.
So if I may ask you,
I think the situation is very different.
Yeah, because from what you're saying, it sounds more like if you would say it's not a coup. This is actually an insurrection.
I think it's a family dispute because they are cousins. Okay, it's basically the son of the old president has been replaced by the nephew of the old president. They're still the same family in power in Gabon. So maybe the things are going to change, but I don't know.
So it's a dynasty.
For me, it's maybe a different situation.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's not a regime change altogether. It's basically an insurrection, like a change of power within the existing. Yes. So in your eyes, this is not really
more like that.
Yeah, it doesn't really fall under, not even falls under the category of coup. Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to add, or should I pass it on?
Okay, no, I have some little addition to that. The Guinean coup and the Bongo coup and the Gabon coup, as Afa was saying, I believe they have similarities in the context that they are pro-Western coup. They are not the anti-West, anti-France coup we see in Burkina Faso and Niger and Mali. Yeah, it's not the same because there's these two coups that runs in Africa: the pro-Western coup and the anti-Western coup. Why I say this?
I don't agree with that. I think there is most of the coup are just about a guy who wants more power or more money.
Okay. In the example of what I'm trying to say is Burkina Faso. Thomas Sankara was leave the West alone coup. Blaise Compaoré coup against him was a pro-Western coup. That's the example I'm trying to use right here. The same thing happened in Mali. The guy that coup, the previous president, his very first trip was to France, was a pro-Western coup. And Guaita that coup him, of course, he came and kicked the French out. So there's two different coups that happens in Africa. So whenever anti-West coup happen, the West always push or coup against that person. And in the case of Congo, in the case of Gabon, it doesn't apply. Gabon, I think, is more of the Bongo family was kind of in grip on the population control, and the West could not let that fall into another family's hand that would be anti-West. So the West sponsored this coup against him because he was getting weaker. After the father died, the son was also just getting more useless anyway. So it was easier to remove him right now and get somebody young, somebody strong and easy to manipulate in his place. They can give them long time because the coups are not happening in places that have nothing to give, like Togo or Benin. They're happening in places that have a lot to give to Europe. a lot. This is where all these coups are happening. Whether it's Guinea, whether it's Gabon, it's Mali, Burkina Faso, it doesn't have much to give to Europe, but have a lot to give to France. So if the Francophone country doesn't have much to give, do not expect coup happening there anytime soon. So yeah, the one in Gabon, I believe, is basically the West sees that they are losing grip to a bunch of anti-Western coup leaders, and one in Gabon is a very weak link for them. They would rather have their own person do the coup in Gabon and reinforce that person than to have another anti-West coup leader coup the guy in Gabon. So that's one perspective. That's one calculation from
So
this.
you think the coup in Gabon was to prevent another coup?
Was to prevent an anti-Western coup. Yes.
So
chaos theory.
The coup in Gabon
Yes,
to
please, Jesse.
prevent. Are you guys here?
You're a little bit
Are you guys
choppy.
hearing me?
Yeah, a little bit choppy, but
See, you are
Can you do audio?
101%. Okay?
No, I think it's the internet connection at this point.
Can you hear that? Okay. Yes. The coup in
Okay.
Gabon is not a coup. I will not call that a coup. I will not call it. Okay, this is the fact. Based on the recent coup happening in French colonized countries, you understand? This is the West taking a measure to protect one of their rights. They have lost Burkina Faso, they have lost Niger, they have lost Benin, they have lost Chad. You understand? All these coup that happened, most of them through Russian flag. Understand? But coming to the last coup that happened in Gabon, you see no Russian flag, you see no USA flag. You understand? So this is the West playbook. We are seeing that France is losing the powers that their powers in the West. Sorry, in Africa. You understand? So this is the West stepping in to do something before something happens again to them. You understand? So the coup in Gabon is just the West using one of their playbook. You can't after the coup in Gabon, you don't see any country like like Niger, Burkina Faso or Chad, they that are being ruled by military leader in Africa presently. Going in for them. But unlike the other ones, you see, once any of the country goes in, the other country goes in to like protect them. Be it by support, making alliance to like support them militarily. But Gabon, and you see nobody making noise. I want to quote the president. You see nobody making noise. He knew what he meant by making noise. Because he knew very well that he know the people that came for him. He knows. So you see nobody making noise. And again, why they did it was so that now that the country is under military regime, for a coup to happen, it will warrant the use of military force. That will be military versus military. And this way, it will be very, very difficult for a coup to happen under a military regime. Unlike being when it was under civilian regime, when they know very well the president was weak. Okay, now the coup in Gabon happened. None of them are saying they should hand over to civilian power. ECOWAS is not pressuring them, or South African whatever, or you understand, it's not pressure, Middle African whatever. No African Union is pressuring them to hand over power, but till now they are not allowing us to sleep over in that coup because France lost the book in Niger. So now they are preventing another, should I say, the baby boo, which is in Gabon, from also going. Because what happened in France would have still happened in Gabon. And I won't lie to you, a coup will still happen again. Still is a French colonized country. Because Francophone guys are trying to unify under a single flag. And now, if a coup happens in a French colonized country, the other French colonized African country, the other African countries can easily step in, which were colonized by French that recently got independent. I'll say this is independent, to be frank, because you slave these guys, sold them when they were slaves, you gave them independence, and then gave them money called the economic slave. You were selling them to get money, right? Yes, you were selling them to get money. You said no more slavery because you discovered economic slave. You are talking about democracy, and you're not. If you are introducing democracy to people, and you are not doing a full, how can I say, you are not giving them the full package. You are leaving loopholes for you to come and take advantage of. You are leaving openings for you to come and take advantage of. Now, look at the Gabon coup. How can you tell me that if a president serves after 7 years, 7 fucking years in Nigeria, you can't. I love Nigeria because of we are divided. The only thing that keeps us together is because we are divided. The northern Nigeria are mostly Muslim, southern Nigeria are mostly Christian. You understand? It balances. The Christians are trying to like impress the Muslims are trying to like impress the Christians. That is one thing that keeps Nigeria. They give us enough. Now, how can you tell me that a country as big as Gabon, if someone contests for president and wins, rules after 7 years, you can still contest. In Nigeria, our one tenure is 4 years, not even 7 years, 4 years. Once you are done with your 4 years, you fuck out. Okay, if you succeed to win second tenure, once you are done with your 8 years, you fuck out. And then you are telling me in Gabon you do 7 years, and then if you win again, you still have 7 years, start them 14 years. But you born to be a president of a country, and Europeans are there, the West are there, looking at court structure. They are not criticizing the structure, they are not criticizing the whole electoral process or the rulership process. Nobody is going to be a king over anybody. We're all born equal. Now if you do your 7 years, you leave. Now the West are playing a CIA playbook, making it look like it's the Russian whatever. No. They are just stepping in to help France. The guy in Gabon was trained in the West. They are just stepping in to help France. Since France is losing their grip and power over Africa, then the better salvage what they can salvage before it goes to Russia and again. Well, I'm not happy for Gabon. They are not yet free. They are still the same under embargo. The money found that somebody was trying to run away with money. It's a normal CIA playbook. Somebody was arrested just like the money was found. I'm not happy over Gabon coup. I won't lie to you. Because if they were in peace, now they are in deep peace. That has to be found. Unless the military, whosoever is in charge, decide to say freedom from Gabon. And I believe the previous government was even more aligned was about going with the latest trend, which is Russia, China, you understand, than this present guy. I'm not impressed until he impressed me. I'm not convinced until he convinced me. This whole Gabon stuff is a playbook for the CIA. We have seen in Nigeria before. Yes? When back then when Nigeria used to go to military coup, most of our coup leaders were sent from the West or United Kingdom. Even our last president, Buhari, he also military coup. He was sent by them.
So if I understand sorry for cutting you off, Jesse. Sorry for cutting you off. We also have to, because the segment is going to be ending in not so long. So I just wonder, because as far as I get it from you, you're basically, I'm having feedback here. Those not speaking, please mute. I think it's you, Terma. Just if you, let's see that better. Yes, okay. So if I understood what your panelists have been saying so far, basically FCS and Jesse say that this is a coup that is likely, it's basically what Shadowy was saying, it's a takeover internally, but it is propped up by the US as a preemptive coup against any form of Russian coup or anything like that. Have I understood that correctly? Like, did you agree with that sentiment, Shadowy and Alpha?
So to go ahead, like for me, like what I see is that like it's the military people see as an opportunity. So I don't know about like Western backing it, because they see as an opportunity that they know the population not going to back them. Because for Guinea, for example, Alpha Conde, he was before he was elected, he was was fan of the French and everything else. Because I've been to one of his meetings at the UN, after that he was against of everything that wasn't. So it was much easier for them to, this to happen, because they know right now the military see that as an opportunity. And then the fact that he ran for third term when he was not supposed to, he changed the constitution, and all the protests that he went around and killing young people. People was protesting against it, and they was against him. It make it much easier for him to get kicked out without get backed up. So you see, as you see, Ali Bongo was calling, "Go make noise, go make noise." The population come out against him and happy that he get kicked out. Same thing in Guinea. Like my father-in-law, he was so happy. He like the fact that I didn't tell this to the government. They couldn't just go acting for the house, because he was so happy that they take Alpha Conde. He was willing to give his house to the government, or just for them to kick him out Alpha Conde. So basically, and just I want to add one thing. That the one thing that I think that all these schools that are similar of, beside of this, is 5 things. One, they all speak French, and then the other thing is the poverty that many people are suffering from all the countries. That doesn't matter which country it is. And the third thing is lack of infrastructure and corruptions, and what they call it, opportunity for young people. I think that's the 5 reasons why they all get cooled. But that it gives them even easier, more opportunity for the military just to take them out. So I just want to put that out. Besides of that, there's really difference.
I want to add something.
If I could just have a follow-up question for that one before I hand it over to you, Shadowy. So because first I get you, Alpha. There were popular support in either case, both in Guinea and in Gabon, for the coup. So it's not necessarily fake that there is popular support on the street for the coup. But at the same time, like the Guinea has improved to some extent. Maybe there's something to show for it. I get the impression, at least from maybe Shadowy will want to elaborate on that later, but that Gabon is not necessarily like it. One could perhaps suspect that there's a lot of people who do see through this and see that, no, this is an internal power struggle. Nothing is going to change here. This is not a coup in like the other coups, or a coup that's going to, yeah. But in Guinea, yeah, Shadowy, go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to add something to what Alpha Diallo was speaking. Please, I'm going to finish and after I let you speak.
Yeah, Jesse, wait, we'll pass it over to you once Shadowy is done.
So I wanted to add something, like Alpha Diallo was speaking about the guy who changed their mind about something. If you look at the situation in Niger, the guy who makes the coup was the leader of the presidential guard for the previous president. Okay, so it was a high-ranking military officer who was working in the country for 40 years already. So he has worked for France, basically, or for French company for 40 years. And suddenly, he become very anti-France. No, please. What I think has happened in Niger. It was his job was threatened by the new president, and basically he was going to be fired on maybe some corruption process, some corruption judgment or something like that. So he wanted to protect himself, and for that he looked away to make a coup, and he decided at this moment to use anti-French sentiment in the population, and maybe to contact Russia and other countries to have external support. But first, it begins with a guy who wants to keep his job and to avoid problem, and who basically wants more power. And I think very often it's like that. You have a situation in the country with a problem, and the guy with the problem basically look for help from the other country. And maybe it was the same thing in Gabon, but for the other side. The nephew was looking to replace the son, so he looked for help from USA or some place or somewhere else. Okay, Jesse, you could speak now.
Jesse, go ahead.
Thank you. The Gabon coup. Yes, the one in Niger. The man was also trained by the West. But there is how you be a slave for long and you see between the lines, or you read between the lines. Look at the whole Europe nuclear power plant. We know how much is being made after the uranium leaves their country. We know if there's two people in Niger that know how much that Niger should be actually generating, he is one of them. And then Niger is number 2 on the most poorest country in the world. You can't believe that people from Niger live in there, come to Nigeria to get in Nigeria, just go to Europe or America or Canada, you understand, to settle. In Niger,
Yes, I understand about the people,
and come to
but we are
Nigeria
speaking
here
about the leader.
to come and sell water. They buy water, put it in wheelbarrow and hawk it around. Now coming, you say?
Jesse, just to stay on topic here, and we are talking
Are you
about
hearing
the.
me?
Yes, we hear you, but you're veering a little bit off topic because now we're about to close this segment here. So
I am trying just trying to make a point. I'm just trying to make a point. Now coming to Gabon, if the man that did the coup, yes, he was also trained by the West. I see as the West just stepping in to avoid their power being lost, or to avoid their assets, their investment being lost, to protect the crude oil that they get from Gabon. That's just it. It's just to protect the crude oil, nothing more, nothing less. It's all about the crude oil. The oil are still pumping, and they are going to Europe and going to West at a very, very discount price as usual. You don't see the man shutting down businesses. You don't see him shutting down. He's trying to cover up loopholes. That because we have loopholes, even Nigeria itself has loopholes. Every country has loopholes. He's not trying to cover up any loopholes. He's not trying to cover up any. It's just the West stepping in to save their investment, putting another pocket. And like this is a military leader that is in control. At least they take military action in case of any military coup or any other stuff that happens. It's just them stepping in to protect their assets. It's not a coup. It's just removing democracy. Thank you.
thank you very much. I think we have reached.
And also, just one little comment on this whole thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Gabon from independence to today have always been cool. Not a single election has been fair. And also, just a little context also, Gabon is not a country. It wasn't even a country. It was more like a getaway spot, like where people go to go hide. Gabon was never supposed to exist as a country. This is why it is so big with small population. They have more tribes than even countries than Guinea or Liberia. Gabon have more than 40 or 50 tribes in Gabon, because Gabon was like a hiding place for people all around Africa. Even Samori Touré, when he was fighting the French, he died in Gabon. That's where they go to go hide. Many African leaders or anti-colonial leaders or any of the freedom fighters or rebels, Gabon was where basically Gabon is a huge, dense forest locations where they go to basically hide and do their trainings. This is why I have so many tribes in our small population. For 2 million people, they have more than 50 different tribes, because it wasn't even supposed to exist. But since it exists today, and since independence, it have always been coup after coup after coup after coup. But anyway, yeah, let's move on from this next segment.
All right. So unless anyone has anything else to add to the coup in Gabon and similarities and differences, we're moving over to the next segment, which here I'm just going to start with Momieni, and then we're just going to go downwards with Alpha, finishing off with Shadowy. And the second segment is about which countries do you panelists, that is here, think there is a high possibility of experiencing a coup, and why? Now here you can list, like if you think there's more than one country, you can list three countries, for example, and then the first one is the one you think is most likely to experience a coup first, followed by the second, and then the third. And from there on, we will continue with the one that got rank number 1. So, FCS, I hope my question wasn't too clumsily presented.
If I could get the most prone for coup, a real legitimate coup, I would say Congo, because this coup is going the trend of resources. This is now a coup for independence anymore, a coup for liberation. This is a coup going around risk.
Do you mean like the DRC Congo or Congo?
DRC Congo.
All right.
Yeah. I think it's a very I see that leaning more towards Russia, kind of Wagner kind of thing going on. So maybe that would protect them. But if anybody's prone for coup, would be Congo. Because the past 2 years, it's been very tense in the area. Rwanda getting involved, other neighbors getting involved. And since Russia is somewhat in there, that could somehow save them. Next in line from that Congo coup being happening is actually a coup in Guinea. But people are not paying attention to this. Alpha may not even be registering this. If you see the past few months, Doumbouya is basically making sure that he doesn't get coup, because coup is very hanging around Guinea. It's hanging around Guinea, especially with the inspiration that's coming from Burkina Faso and Mali. It's triggering a lot of internal strife in Guinea. And Guinea again is another resource-rich country again. So third on my list, just for giggles, it would be our Ivory Coast. The reason Ivory Coast coup will be kind of a little bit complicated, because the Ivorian military structure currently is too chaotic. It's not defined. It's not even, we don't know who's gonna coup the president. But if the next election happen and this Ouattara guy try to do anything funny, that would be a coup. So, but to save the ass, Benny just ran to China and trying to do some deal with China to try to save himself. But Benny and Togo, they have nothing to offer the West, so their coup, it will just be for giggles. But Ivory Coast, Guinea, highly. Congo, prime suspect for coup. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, FCS. Alpha, since you mentioned Guinea, I'm pretty sure you would like to be the next one in line. So why don't you give the top 3 the countries you think are likely to be couped, and just briefly why, and we can go a little bit deeper later on.
I just want to add a little bit what you said there. Then before I go to my list, I understand why he's saying that Guinea is about to coup the game, because Guinea is always, even one coup happen, there's always a coup after. Because that what happened to I forget this guy's name. Oh my goodness.
Okay, basically what you're saying, even I could have made that answer.
That is.
Okay. You can get into the responses to FCS after. We just want to take the round where everyone has their chance to present their top 3. So
I'll put my list. I'll go like Cameroon, because for the leader's been there for too long, and next one I'll put like Senegal, because Senegal is almost similar to Guinea, because there's a lot of young people live in Senegal trying to come to America, risking their life going to Europe, and now also the leader trying to change the terms too and trying to make it to third term, I believe. And then there's a young person that was trying to run for government. They're having problem with him, so it's almost similar to what's happening in Guinea a little bit. So and I had a friend that just came from Senegal. He usually lived here in the U.S., but he went back home because he was like he feel like he was making more money and he was able to live more better life here. But he told me when he came back just a couple of days, He like, no, Senegal is no longer the same team. And since you said the current leader became president, it's no longer the same team. If he's crying, then I'm definitely sure people that below him definitely is feeling the pain. And the one that I will add, like in the last, I would say Rwanda, but not that bad because he keeps changing the constitution. That's the thing. Yeah.
And the one that just replaced all top generals, not all of them, but majority of them.
You understand? Yeah. That's exactly true. Yeah. Those are my 3 lists.
So you would say, okay, so that if I remember correctly, it was Cameroon, Senegal, and Rwanda.
Yeah.
All right, Chairman, why don't you try to... oh, I see Vosh is here. Let me try to get him on here. And Chairman, why don't you give the top 3 list, the 3 countries you think are most likely, starting with the most likely number 1 and then down to number 3.
My number one will be Cameroon, and then my number 2 will be Ivory Coast. I don't have a number 3. And
No,
number 3, I'll just generalize it. A French-speaking country. That's it.
Well, when you say no number 3, it's no number 3 in mind. You got nothing in mind, like not a single country you can think of that might be number 3. That like not a single country that might be number 3.
The number. If I am to select number 3, to be French colonized country in Africa. That's all. Because that's the only place that I see power tussle. Because other countries are a bit secured for the West, and also others are also a bit secured for Russia and China, like South Africa, Egypt, a bit secured. So definitely they are going for the French. Then when they're done with French, the English-speaking countries will enter. We start their own coup.
All right, so let's see. I'm trying to get Vosh on here. He'll probably get on. So meanwhile, we'll just go over to Shadowy. What do you say? Your top 3 coup picks?
Honestly, I don't have enough information about this part of Africa to give you an answer, but I could give you something else. I think the most important thing before answering this question would be to check who is the presidential guard leader, because most of the time it's him who makes the coup. If you look at the situation in Niger, in Gabon, or even if you extend it to Sudan, every time it's the military leader who is very near of the president who makes the coup. So basically the presidential guard leader. So, Guy, do you know about it? About this situation in Cameroon and the other country you were speaking about? What is the presidential guard in Cameroon, for instance? Because to make a coup, you have to have a junta, a leader.
Well, I think what you're saying makes sense because, as I've heard been discussed previously on the open mic, is that one of the reasons that most African countries have a fairly weak military is because they're afraid to get couped. And so, the presidential guard would be the one who is in charge of that little tiny army or have the best position. So, to me, it may, without knowing any better, I would say it makes logical sense. And if you can connect the dots thereafter, then, it definitely correlates at least with the assertion that African countries generally try to have a small military for, if not entirely, then part this reason. Of course, there could be economical justifications, but
just to add to that, yes, not every coup have come from the highest military guy. Sometimes it comes from low as captain, like in Burkina Faso. It was a captain that make the coup. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
sometimes
But it's more an exception than a rule.
no, even in Guinea,
Really?
Dadis was a captain.
Okay. Okay.
The current president, the current in Guinea, Doumbouya. Yeah, Doumbouya was also I think it was a sergeant or whatever it was. Doumbouya was not even I think it was like a chief of security. Actually, it was chief of security. He wasn't even a military guy. Doumbouya. He was a military wing of the government, but it wasn't like a military or like a military order. Anyway, I don't know military's terminology and stuff.
And also, you have to understand that Alpha Conde chose him because he trusted him more than everybody else. Because he thought that because he had more military training outside the country, like he was with the French Legion, if I'm not wrong. And also he worked with the U.S. military many times in, I believe, in Afghanistan or Iraq, one of those countries. And he was the man in case. So he like, okay, now I feel like he will protect me more than everybody else, and I trust him more. So sometimes the people that you even trust more,
So he was basically part of the presidential guard.
Yes, he was. Okay, hold on. They created a separate security unit, which is different from the presidential guard. But they're basically between the state, the presidential office, and the military. That's what they were. Then eventually they get so powerful, they try to basically override the military. I remember even Conte was trying to downsize the military sometime, but in that process, a huge disagreement came out of it. And so even what's his name, Doumbouya himself was supposed to be cut during that cutting process, but he did not go for it. So it was during that dispute that he basically cooled Alpha Conde because he refused to be downsized. Because I guess Conte see the obvious plan that this guy gets too powerful for me to contain.
The guy in the presidential guard don't want to be fired, so he make a coup, like in Niger.
Can you hear me?
Yes. So, do you know about the presidential guard in Cameroon?
In Cameroon? Okay. Cameroon, how can I call it? They have the same process almost like every first country. They have the presidential guard. I don't know who is currently is in charge, but if I'm not wrong, one of them died, I think 2 or 3 years ago. One of them passed away. So who replaced him, I don't know. So they tend to have this habit. Whenever they're getting suspicious, but for Cameroon getting cool, the reason why I think it will happen, because again, Cameroon doesn't have much to offer. Maybe somebody will take advantage of the situation.
I understand, but that's the reason. But I'm asking about the who. Okay, who is going to make the coup?
Because it's always who have the gun, and who have the gun in the country is the military. The civilian doesn't have gun in Africa, because every government disarmed the civilians, and the military is not strong enough to fight outside invasion. It's only strong enough to fight the civilians. As Alpha mentioned, the Guinean military, in 2000, when Guinea was attacked, it was the civilians and the military that went to the front. But the military in Guinea is so strong enough they will suppress any riot or any protest. They'll go there and just do a bunch of killing and destructions. So the African military are only trained to suppress the population of the country. So they have the weapons. So it's always going to be a military guy doing the coup. Whether it be a captain, it be a general, it be from security services, it has to be somebody that have a gun. And whoever have the gun in the country.
And he has to have access. Because if you don't have access to the president, the president guard basically is going to protect the president. And the coup is going to fail.
No, not every time. The one in Guinea, he didn't have access to the president. They basically have to drive to the presidential palace and basically outgun the presidential guard and seize power. The same thing happened in Liberia during Samuel Kyodo in the 80s. Okay. He was a captain, a local captain. They get his men, they outgun the presidential guard and seized power. The same thing happened again in Guinea again. Well, Dadis was it wasn't close to the president. Dadis basically came from the camp with his men, and they went and they seized power from another guy that cooled another guy. So no, sometimes because none of them are trusted with weapons. Even the presidential guard, if they're armed, they have very limited weapons. So you that comes from the barracks, from the military installations, you can really arm yourself. You can easily outgun the current guards around the president, because the current guy around the president, maybe out of 3, maybe only one of them have a bullet in their gun. The rest is just for show, because they are afraid of the same coup. So this is why every time the presidential guy is always outgunned because they don't trust the weapons around the president. The Guinean security services that got the president, the gendarmerie, or they call it Bele Rouge, they are well trained, well armed people. Yeah, but the reason they got outgunned by Doumbouya and his people because they were not trusted with weapons around the president. So they were outnumber Doumbouya forces. But quickly, Doumbouya forces was able to outgun them because Doumbouya forces came from the barracks with weapons. Yeah.
You know what? What you are saying is very interesting if you link it to Wagner. Because basically, that is where Wagner could get most of this job in Africa.
Yeah.
To protect the president who support Russia, basically.
Yes.
And then it's going to be very hard to coup it.
And that's exactly what they have to do. If you want to remain power in Africa, get external security services with the country you're allied with.
Okay. I have to intervene here because what you guys said, you guys are having such a good flow, so that's why I didn't want to stop you. And I'm not going to stop you, actually. I'm just going to now redirect us into the next part of this segment, which is namely why Congo. There were some objections to that. We can say Cameroon was one of the first ones and so forth. But now that we're talking about, Wagner, because you alluded to Wagner in Congo, FCS, and that was your top choice. And so why don't you guys maybe you take the lead on the discussion and you continue as you guys were on why Congo is so ripe for cooing.
Okay. Congo is one of those countries that if they get their things right, it is so wealthy that every civilian can basically chill home and receive free money every month if they want to. That country is filthy wealthy in resources. But Congo have never found peace since independence because of it cannot have peace. The reason I think Congo is prime for coup, because all the previous presidents were basically pro-West. This guy was pro-West until he was elected. Then he started to switch. And he became more pro-East, China, Russia, than more Western. And immediately, there was a huge rebellion in the same old zone. Then Russia armed him, Wagner got involved. Then gradually that war got cooled down. It got suppressed. This was 2018, 19. It got cooled down. Then 2021 again, it flares up again. That's when Rwanda all get involved because the current president is for once trying to do something reasonable without a mineral-rich area. And even Rwanda was getting kicked out of that lucrative looting that was going on. This is when all of a sudden they have a problem with the Congolese position on human rights and blah, 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 blah. I love Rwanda. I support. I know what Kagame is doing, but his war against Congo is basically in cahoots with the West to try to basically weaken this guy. The reason I say it's prone for coup, whatever happened to Prigozhin, whatever happened to Wagner determines what happens to Congo. If Wagner goes and Wagner have to leave Congo, you should expect a coup overnight. If Wagner reinforces. If Wagner survives this death and remains in Congo, then to some extent he's protected. That's why I said he's prime for picking based on some qualities. But the one I'm most suspicious of is Guinea. I'm a Madigo man, and Jalo can attest to this. We're all living the same because I'm hearing a bunch of chatters in the background, and I do a bunch of security things. Not to mention that. Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Hold on. Just a little bit. Just hold on a little bit. Whenever you guys mention Wagner, I used to laugh. There were 2 planes in the sky that day. We went to Uzbekistan, which Russian border country. The other one landed without wings in fire. Nobody have accounted for the guys that were on that other plane. Prigozhin have faked his death before. That's true. My first point is nobody has accounted for the guys on the other plane. The identity were not revealed.
I'm sorry, but Prigozhin said, okay? Because Putin said it.
Sorry. That is Wagner in Africa is one thing, and Prigozhin and Wagner Russia. No. Jesse, stop. No, I'm sorry. I have to cut you out there. That's far too off topic. We are also about to reach the hour marker. We cannot be talking. There's plenty of people talking about Prigozhin and the Wagner and all the international things going on there. But that's if you want to speculate whether or not Wagner survives, you can say if Wagner doesn't survive, then this will happen, as FCS said. But there's things about Prigozhin and so forth. It's so far off it. I will just simply have to interject there. I have no option there. I hope you understand. So I think we have explained Congo, and we have gone over to Guinea. And I think, yeah. So unless you actually had something to add regarding the, because you had your first was Cameroon. I'm not sure. Did you want to kind of, since Guinea was the second one in FCS, do you want to address that one and move on to your first one, which was Senegal?
Me?
No, Alpha.
Okay.
No, because UFCS had Guinea as number 2, so I figured maybe Alpha could kind of segue your second one, answer to that one, and you guys can continue to the banter, but that he gets over to his first reason and then why, and then as we get that one, we can have Jesse's Cameroon come into play.
Okay. So you want me to go the second one or the first one?
You can just, if you want to, just banter a little bit with FCS regarding his second one on Guinea. What do you think? If you think it's reasonable to have as a second choice, then sure. If not, you can just post up one out.
I'll go second choice, so I give him a room for him to go to the first one. I would say that for Senegal, like I was saying, it's kind of almost similar to Guinea, because it's almost like people are complaining. You know, they even have more better infrastructure than Guinea, but the fact that the population is complaining about lack of what they call it, opportunities for young people, and they see that everybody's complaining that they're not able to have enough money to feed their family, and also like to pay for electricity, because the electricity is very, very expensive. Even though they have electricity, my friend told me that because you have to charge it, you have to buy a card to charge for your electricity. It costs a lot of money. So people are complaining about that. And plus, a lot of people, a lot of young people are running away from the country, going to Europe, risking their life, and also in America. Same thing is happening in Guinea. And the other problem also is that, I will add, the last one is that, what they call it? They said, the leader wanted to run for a third term, if I'm not wrong, and that will also cause the problem for him.
Okay. The reason why I think the Senegal on, again, he's right, because these are all the preconditions that exist that triggers a coup. But I think the reason why I think Senegal is a little bit more difficult would be because the Senegalese population in general, they are completely pro-France. Yeah. One of French pressure points against West Africa is Senegal and Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast is new to the party. Whatever France want to do anything to a Francophone country in West Africa, they use Senegal. Senegal was the very first person to basically go down Guinea's neck during the coups. Senegal basically jump and scream with France, whatever France want. So the French military, the Senegalese military is, of course, there could be somebody in there, but they are very pro France. Yeah.
You're speaking about the government or the military? Or both
the military and the government, even the Senegalese population, they have that inferiority complex when it comes to the French behavior or anything. Yeah, it's one of the countries that actually will actually prefer to remain a colony of France if France chooses to colonize, if choose to go down a legal route tomorrow. Is Senegal. So a coup in Senegal again is not out of the questions, but to me it would be a little bit.
You say Guinea is more likely.
More likely because Guinea.
Do you still disagree, Alpha? Hey, Alpha, do you disagree? Do you still think Senegal is more likely to get couped than Guinea?
If you compare like the infrastructure, I agree with him because Senegal have way more better infrastructure than Guinea. But right now, oh my goodness, I forget his name. He is trying his best to build this Guinea infrastructure, like road, schools and everything else. And he also told that all the company that are like doing the aluminium, like the digging the bauxite, to have a refinery in Guinea instead of having to export everything. So people are still waiting, but if because he was supposed to already holding elections, but he's still holding up. So that's why I kind of agree with him because, and also the past history of Guinea is like he's likely because like even when Lassana Conte was the president, I'm telling you, like even Lassana Conte when he was a coup, he was cool too because that's the reason why my dad was jailed when Lassana Conte was a coup. Because like the military at that time, they take everything. Like they go to the store, they steal everything because they see it as an opportunity to take power. But he was able to get back in power. And then now that is true. When he couped after Lassana Conte died, he get couped. So it's like always Guinea. Whenever there's one coup, there's another coup after it. So based on the Guinea history.
All right. So for sake of time, Jesse. You said that it was Cameroon that you found most likely to be couped. You want to perhaps elaborate a little bit on that? Jesse, you are muted. And he's gone.
No, he said he'll be back. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Cameroon. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing I think Cameroon could have been cool long time ago. The reason I think Cameroon has not been cool yet because again, it's one of those countries in Africa that just exists for existence sake. The government doesn't really do nothing for the people. The people just live off of the government. In Guinea, the same thing in Guinea. The Guinean population basically, if you know wealth in Guinea, it didn't come from a government or economic plan or not. It came from the people. The people in the Guinean population tend to be very much hardworking and very much good with money. So most of the wealth in Guinea comes from the people themselves. It didn't come from any government plan or any government or design project that is solving their issues. Yeah, but same thing with Cameroon. So Cameroon for Paul Biya is very prime because when he's very old, he's actually losing his mind. So it's easy to cool him. It looked very fresh for the picking, but if you're gonna cool Cameroon, it should give you something in return. To cool him just to seize power, yeah. To cool him.
Sorry for interjecting here, but just since Jesse's going to come back and give his, I thought we could perhaps kind of deviate a little bit, because as far as I know, there was is it not around here? Can you guys see my cursor on the screen?
Yeah, I can see.
But as far as I know, there was it not on the western region of Cameroon, there was a secessionist movement?
Enough. Because North Cameroon has like English speakers, and South Cameroon has like French speakers. So there's this one going on, I think they call it I forget the name. Anyway, I met some of them in the States. But yes, that movement has been going on for a long time. And the reason why that movement gets no momentum is for the same boring reason. Because who's going to support them? They have nothing to give you. This is why they don't have the full support. If they were situated in places like Niger or Mali, they would get the support and the weapons overnight to basically overthrow Biya tomorrow morning. Because Cameroon really doesn't have nothing to give to any country that will support any rebellion. Yeah. So if you want to get the vote in African Party, you can replace Paul Biya. You can replace Paul Biya tomorrow, but the West is not going to support Paul Biya of trying to do a backfire against him. And Russia really does not really care much for Cameroon because really does not have anything to give to Russia. I know they all have their own interests they're protecting in some way or another.
But there could be an internal coup.
It could be internal, definitely it could be. Because he's very weak. Yeah. And
so
I just posted
So I was just wondering if, because that's the reason I mentioned the secessionist movement is that, given that there are long-standing issues, sure, they may not be ever had power enough to do anything about it, but let's say there is a coup going on, it wouldn't be too inconceivable that they would be included in some sort of coalition, perhaps, or some sort of prior agreement, or maybe they will try to exploit the opportunity to, do you guys see the secessionist movement having any influence whatsoever in the event of a coup in Cameroon?
No.
Okay, that was quick.
Yeah, that group is not organized. It's a bunch of basically random men or get together sometimes, take up guns, go shooting the government forces, and disappear back into the bushes and to the homes. It's not really standing army to say, oh, they have any discipline or any or formations to go against a war. Yeah, they can try. Once a coup happens, they can say, well, this is an opportunity to declare. But once the government is restructured again, they can easily overtake them again. So it's very easy to, it's that one way, it would be easy to maintain, to get them to come back.
Even be the pretext for the coup, because the military could tell that the president is not doing enough effort against the dissident in the north. So they could coup him to put more pressure on the north part of the country.
Sure.
Well, given that there was alluded to this internal coup, basically, well, let's say there was an internal coup. The leader's deposed. The new leader happens to have some, convictions and so forth, and might be Western leaning. Because when the reason I kind of this is just a hypothetical scenario. Let's say it's a Western leaning. Let's say it's neither. Let's say it's pro-Russia, pro-China, right? Because if it's if it's pro-Russia or pro-China, I kind of imagine that Chad, which is still quite firmly under, as far as I know, Chad here is firmly under control of the Western powers still. So they will be able to.
I'm sorry, Coping, but the situation is often more complicated than just pro-China or pro-West. Because if you take Gabon, for instance, the oil is owned by a Western company who sold the oil to China and India. So the country is both with two sides, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so but in the event of Cameroon, and we are seeing a political shift of allegiance. Like, is Cameroon, for example, more likely to experience an actual ECOWAS intervention, even though they're not a part of ECOWAS? I saw that someone floated it, and I thought that sounded a little bit weird. Like, even though they might be having some condemnations or so forth about the coup in Gabon, it's not a part of ECOWAS. Their jurisdiction is quite stretching it, to put it mildly.
ECOWAS have never gone beyond its borders, ever. Yeah, even to mention a statement against outside the border, they have never done. One thing I've observed, they have never commented against any coup outside their borders. They may not do something about the coups in their borders, but they will comment on it. The reason why they couldn't invade Guinea, one, Guinea was a pro-Western coup. Two, Guinea army is not, you cannot invade Guinea easily and get away with it. They will fight you. And Guinea is not some country Guinea have fighter jets. It may be old, but they have them. Guinea has some very good Katusha or rocket systems. In 2000, the rebels in Sierra Leone and Liberia found out very quick that those things work. So Guinea has some it has some good weapons to defend itself, and it has some very patriotic population to basically stand up against any foreign invasion. They don't get along internally. They don't get along.
Quickly diverge when it comes to Katyushas, because people might be thinking that these Katyushas are Soviet platforms from 60s or 70s and whatnot. They're so obsoleted. Why would you have them used? Well, during 2006, just to put it into context, these things were used by the paramilitary group Hezbollah, and that really caused a whole lot of problems for Israel. And I happened to actually be there at the time in the regions near Haifa and seeing the results of it. And it was they caused the Israelis to panic and send warplanes after warplanes. The roaring of the heavily loaded warplanes, that's a different sound. And so, when you have fighter jets, they might be old, but your Katyushas, they might be old. But it's just to kind of add a little bit of nuance to what was mentioned here.
You know, copying. If you had artillery piece, even if they are old, if the other side don't, you have a big advantage.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, here's a funny thing about this war. I'm sorry, even the war. Just a little commentary about it. There's Russia bringing out T-61, T-60. I'm like, does that? I don't care how old the weapon is. If they can shoot a bullet at you, it will kill you. And this is what I don't understand about people and weapons. Oh, this weapon is so old. Yeah, it may not have the technology to hit you directly, but if it hits you, it will kill you.
Don't forget about two things. There is first the cost to buy the weapon, and there is the cost to maintain the weapon. Very often, the old weapons are way easier to maintain. And in Africa, it's important to be able to self-repair the weapon.
And almost all the weapons in Guinea come from Russia. Whether it's the fighter jet, whether it's the Katyusha systems, even the tanks they used to have. I think they used to have they still have some tanks. Everything's Russian made. And Russia, I guess, if I'm not wrong, Russia maintained them for free and replaced parts for free, if I'm not wrong. That's some of the agreement that Russia had with Russia with Guinea back in right after the colonial era. That, some of these tanks are maintained, and even the planes are maintained, if I'm not wrong, at no cost to the Guinean state. But it may be old, but if it can shoot, especially in the war in 2000 in Guinea, the rebels from Liberia and Sierra Leone, they didn't have Katyusha systems, they didn't have helicopters, they didn't have jets. The Guinean had that, and the Guinean put it to the news. The war didn't even last a week, and the war was done with. So so it may be old, but it works. It kills people.
They also have some boats, but I don't know how old those boats are, like the military.
The boat, they're not crazy to take the boat. The last time they took the boat, it nearly sank. They didn't go back again.
I saw it, I'm like, what? That's what you have now?
I'm saying that...
I know. Can I just say something quick? Because I know we're talking about coups and all that stuff. Like, can we talk about, like, I think it's also helpful to give this country like an opportunity for them to be able to avert coups. Like my thing, like the 5 things I would say is, again, I will repeat, is like for them, trying to get the young people supporting you, because all these coups, as you see, whenever the coup happens, the first people come out like supporting the coups is young people. Like if the young people is complaining about having a good opportunity for work, and then they live in your country, like risking their life. If somebody risks their life to go out of your nation, trying to go to make it to Europe or America or in other African countries like in Gabon or in Angola or other stuff, it's because they like that means you're not doing good in your country. So you have to try to figure out a way to help those people, young people, like to stay in your country and help them to feel like, okay, they have something that they can do to help the country, basically, to contribute to the country. As you helping them to show them that, yes, you are listening to them, and not just, okay, they just here crying, they don't have enough job. Like some of them even finish schools. I know a lot of people in Guinea that finish school that don't have no better jobs. They're doing other jobs that they're not supposed to do. You understand? It's like, I know right now, everybody in the whole world is kind of crying about, everything is like expensive. It's not just in your country, You have to understand that, but you have to make the people understand it. You have to show that the people like, okay, I am doing it, not just talking about it. And, and the other thing is that, like, I would say the last thing I would add is, what they call it, do not try to change the constitution. How come you keep doing that? Like, you change the constitution, definitely people gonna go after you. Like, the people not gonna support you. And the other thing is that, like, I would say is...
Sorry, that was your final thing, because that lovely informative tangent of yours, was kind of a prescription to kind of how to avoid coups, one can say, but I think it can also be contextually segued into a little... this is the closing segment I wanted to pose to you guys. And, we can actually still be discussing a little bit. We can give a little bit of leeway for this one. But it does pertain quite a bit to what you were talking about here, Alpha, because, and as to a lot of what we've actually been talking about here, because, what is the difference between an insurrection or a coup? What a lovely ringtone you have, Shadowy.
Alpha, continue.
No, wait. Shadow, if you can mute yourself, thank you. So we're going to move into the closing segment here where Alpha can continue. We're basically, the question here is, your interpretation, or if you want to discuss on the countries we have had or give some notable examples to recent coups. Is this a insurrection? Is this a coup? Is it a popular revolution? How do you actually distinguish that? So, Alpha, in your opinion, the recent coup in Gabon, it doesn't seem like a popular uprising, but where would you say which country would you say it's likely this coup was actually a popular revolution? Then you add which country you think is a likely external coup, and then which country you think is almost certainly an internal coup. Go ahead.
That's a good question. The one that I would say is like revolution is Burkina, to be honest, because the thing is that he as a young person himself, he knows that when he went to Russia, I was listening to him. When he asked why all the young people is asking, how come our nation have all these resources, but we still live poor? You understand? Even here in the UN, I know because a lot of times people talk about it Africa is like the motherland of all the world, but we have everything in there, but we're still suffering. So I think that's one is the revolution. And the other one, the second question, what was it again, if you don't mind me asking?
So the Burkina Faso makes a lot of sense. I've actually looked a little bit into that. That's a long history of popular revolution. So I'm inclined to think that it makes a lot of sense. The two other questions was, which of the coups that have been happening do you think are, or you can refer to a coup that will be occurring, which you think is going to be an external coup, and then you can make the example of which one you think is an internal coup.
Yeah, the internal one for sure is Gabon. That one is almost like internal. that is like literally his idea. It's like you can see it. And the other one is Guinea. One is the second question that you asked. That's
the external one.
The external one is Guinea.
All right.
No, external. You mean like outside? Outside,
yeah.
The people that.
Yeah, think about
outside support.
Definitely Guinea.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much. STS, you want to give your take on which of these coups were revolutions, external coups or internal coups?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I think I keep saying that's basically two things gonna find in Africa. For Burkina Faso, as I said, that is definitely Burkina Faso being Burkina Faso throughout history. They've always been revolutionaries and want independence from everybody else to self-govern. Guinea was basically a French coup to basically replace Africa after Africa basically turning back on the West. Guinea is 100% external supported. And Mali is difficult to lay something on. Mali, I want to say, was an internal coup that kind of flipped, because it was an internal coup that flipped to Burkina Faso kind of revolutionary kind of coup. The first coup in Mali was basically an internal coup. It will kind of have some little, after because the internal coup, then the West supported it. Okay, then it stays. Then they say, no, this is wrong. Then Guaita came in, do a revolutionary coup against him. Gabon is a party. Is a party. Niger is also another. Niger is not another. It's not a revolution. It's not an internal coup. It's not an external coup. Niger is just an opportunist coup. That's how I see it. They took an opportunity chance for something, and they went how they just going as a direct headed. Because if you watch the initial stage, they had no idea which one to even align with. But as time goes on, anyone condemn them, they go against you. When Germany condemned them, they go against Germany. When France condemned them, they go against France. The US have not condemned them. They have not said nothing against the US interest. So they are basically they are adjusting as they go. So Niger coup, I don't know what category to put it into, but those three countries, Guinea, Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso.
The way you are describing Niger, if I could give it like an attempt at defining it, it sounds like an internal coup that is winging it. They didn't really see like, oh, we had the opportunity, but not really sure what we're going to do with it.
Yeah, I think that's the best. They're winging it to see which way it goes. Yeah, but if he's not careful, he'll be cool in Niger. He's very this close to being cool. If the French doesn't leave, he'll be cool. Just watch.
So, but let me since Tedman went out, Jesse went out here. I will give you the chance here to Shadowy. Don't worry. But both for UFCS, you can. Do you think Congo is going to be an internal coup, external coup, or a revolution?
Every Congo coup being external coup. You cannot have external. You can have internal coup in Congo. You cannot have a revolution in Congo. Congo geography, it is so chaos. You cannot have a revolutionary coup. It's impossible. And so it will be an external coup that will be pro-Western coup. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to have a specific prediction on that one. Alpha, your time pick was prime pick. Sorry, was Senegal. Yeah.
No, I think it's gonna be internal. It's not like something that like because it's gonna be internal. Definitely not external. I don't think so. I don't think Russia have nothing to care about Senegal, and France not gonna have nothing to trying to coup them or America either. You have to be internal.
And also, and according to the coup tradition in Guinea, you're gonna have to switch a little bit between an internal and external coup. You're gonna have a little bit of variety, otherwise it gets boring. So it's probably gonna have this time. It's different an internal coup. Okay, so all right. Shadowy.
So I'm going to give you a different point of view about this, because I don't think you could today have 100% internal or 100% external, because every time if you're another country and you make to make a coup in a country, you need to find an internal guy who want to take power, so he has motive to take the coup. So there is always an internal part in a coup. And at the opposite, if you take the example of Gabon, I'm pretty sure that it was 90 or 80% internal, but there is still a part of external, because I think he asked not the authorization, but he warned US Embassy and France Embassy about what he was going to do, because he don't want any problem or any surprise. It's more like that. So for Niger, it's the opposite. It's mainly internal, but after the fact, or maybe during the planning stage, it became external, because it was more easier for the guy who makes the coup in Niger to go to the anti-France road. And so they are going to ask Russia for help and so on. But at the beginning of the Niger coup, it was maybe 60 or 70% internal and only the rest of for external things. That's what I think. And I don't know enough about the other coup to give you the percentage I think it could be.
Just a little commentary. If the English coup was to ever happen to Anglophone countries, Liberia and Sierra Leone is prime for the picking. Yes. Liberia probably not going to have another coup because Liberia doesn't even have the military structure to even commit a coup. But Sierra Leone, I can contact on Sierra Leone for a coup. Because Sierra Leone is known for having military coups too, even more than, I won't say more than Guinea, because Guinea is kind of older than Sierra Leone, but Sierra Leone has some very military structures that can easily coup that president. They've done it many times in the past, so I won't be surprised. Even the current president of Sierra Leone, back in the 90s, he was part of a coup against another president. The current president of Sierra Leone was involved in a coup previously in the past. Well, and that coup was actually done by a sergeant. If I'm not wrong, a sergeant was the one that basically couped the president. Sergeant Sasha of the, but of course, today he exists as nothing in Sierra Leone. So African, they will throw you a curveball. They will definitely throw you a curveball. But yeah, what Shadow was saying is right. No external coup is someone just come. The only attempt of an external coup was basically in Gambia, when that guy from Texas, he basically got into like 6 or 7 of them. They got into
I didn't know this one.
Huh?
I didn't know this one. From Texas, really?
Yeah, some guy from Gambia. He basically, some rich guy. I met him here. Well, I met him in Texas before. But anyway, I didn't talk to him. But that's a very funny thing. But he took up some few men, gave them weapons, and they were supposed to invade Gambia and go and dispose of the president. They couldn't even make it off the beach. Some guy killed, some guy arrested, and the guy sentenced in jail. And he ran back to Texas, and he got arrested in America and put in jail in America. So that was the only time it was 100% external, but it did succeed. So with the rest of them, of course, to back up Shadowy point, of course, even if it's 50% or 80% external, you will need somebody internal to execute the plan. So definitely, you're right on that point.
Be motivated to
I think the distinction here, because I also
motivation.
Well, I also like Shadowy's nuancing on that one, and I think the kind of more perhaps it's like, where is it most leaning? Was it primarily internal, and and like Shadowy said, after the fact, that kind of also strangely also applied. Did they have a motive to take a coup, and how to then deal with foreign relations, or were they a winging coup, so to speak? But that being said, I think we are reaching quite close to the clock here, so maybe we just do a round of closing. Shadowy, do you want to start?
Yes. I just would like to not to ask a question, because I think I know the answer, but the feeling I have about this situation, about all this coup, is that they are mainly military. I think it's because what all the speakers, the talkers say about only the military as weapon, and basically they are very trained to suppress the crowd. So the revolution is not really possible in most of the case. So it can only come from the military. And even if the coup come from the military, you have to be very careful, because most of the time, in a lot of the coup, it was the high-ranking military who make the coup. And these guys, they are here in place for a long time. So they are basically part of the system. And if you think someone who has worked with French, with Western power for 40 years, basically, are going to, in one day, become publisher, it's possible, okay? It's possible. But mainly they are going to continue business as usual. So I'm sorry, but in this case, when this high-level general makes the coup, I'm very pessimistic for the population. Next one.
Yes, thank you very much, Shadowy. Alpha, your closing.
So basically, all I would like to say in the closing is that, like, the country that I think we're not gonna get coup that easily is South Africa, because unless if they're going to be a coup, it have to be a what they call it, a revolution, not a coup for them, because I think that they're doing almost everything right, but the only problem they have a problem with electricity. That's definitely something that they need to solve. If they don't solve that, they're definitely gonna have a problem with the people. So that's all I like to add.
Yeah. For me, if I can comment on this, if you were to do a survey of the population of any country in Africa right now, it will tell you, leave us alone to fend for ourselves. We don't need any of this Western interference, whether it be pro-coup, anti-coup. Then, if you see every time the population, anybody take coup right now in Africa, the population go for you. Anybody coup, anybody in Africa, the population will rise in support of you, because they just want something different from what they've been having. This is why coup, there's sometimes the population feel is not a true sentiment of the people. I keep saying this: the military know more about the people than the government does, because the military is your brother, is your uncle, is your auntie, is your father. So they hear the commentary of the people, so they know what to react on. So the people's there's not a single government in Africa today.
Be careful about the American military. Often they are part of the elite already.
Yeah. But again, this is what sometimes you see the coup happening coming from the lower men, because the guy at the high top, he's basically have no touch with the people. Sometimes you see a captain or sergeant or lieutenant doing a coup because
I agree with that.
Yeah, because of he get a fee of the people more than the people in those elite structures, as you mentioned. So I think Africa, if we can do a reset, it will be basically let the West deal or fail deal. Leave us alone to handle our own affairs. We can figure it out. We did it for thousands of years before we even know who you were. We can figure it out. But of course, that's not going to happen. So what I think is going to happen is going to be these constant circles of coup, pro-coup, anti-coup, pro-West coup, anti-West coup. It will keep happening until some solid system is in place. If you see the Burkina Faso guy is trying to create a federation, because he's trying to prevent him being couped and easily go back to the way it was after Sankara got couped. So in closing, I'll just say, again, I hope Africa get his shit together. It's way overdue. It's 2023.
Thank you all for participating here on this recording that I kindly requested you, and you so generously provided the time to participate. It's been very insightful for me to be having these coup talks with you. And it is a bit unfortunate that our two other panelists that were planned to come here, Makiadi from Kenya and Vosh from Angola, were not able to come and give their regional inputs and so forth. It would, of course, have nuanced it. But then again, our recordings are a limit of time. We generally do not want to make these exceeding 1 hour and 30 minutes. Otherwise, Wyatt will extend a foot through the screen right up my groin, I'm sure. Anyways, we would like to kindly extend our gratitude to those of you who support Defense Politics Asia financially on Patreon, Ko-fi, Locals, and Boosty. And we hope that you would subscribe to the DPA Open Mic channel, where you can find more videos like these, as well as the DPA Open Mic stream. It is actually from there all of us are originating from, shall we say. We all meet there on the stream that occurs once a week, usually on Saturdays, varying time, sometimes on Sunday. It really depends on, it's hard to say, so it depends on Wyatt's time schedule. If it is the first time you ever watch any content from DPA, then you should also have a look at Defense Politics Asia, its main channel. You will probably find it linked here in the description. And we also would appreciate a lot if you like this video that you not only press the like button, because we would like you a whole lot more than those who didn't, but also that you would share and to others who might be interested in these various topics. And if you want to participate and contribute into the conversation with us, again, we are just a bunch of dudes who get together. So do not hesitate to get on the open mic, and, you have to talk, of course, you have to converse with us. But as you do so, you will be led into the private Telegram group, the Open Mic Lounge, as we so classically call it. And here you will be able to reach out to all the other members that have been on the open mic, people from all over the world who would like to discuss a variety of topics. And, this is one of the ways I actually was able to do this. Nothing special here. I just kind of asked people like, hey, you guys want to have a recording where we can have this conversation with you in the audience? So also, please do not hesitate to comment and so forth. And if you have any questions or anything you want to add, please do. So that was really my closing. Thank you all for having joined, and thank you all for having watched DPA Open Mic Voice Chat. Now press that like.
All right.